Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're zeroing in on a specific player in the broader Cosmos ecosystem.
That's right. We're going deep on Neutron, ticker NTRN.
And we're working from a particular report, right? One that focuses just on Neutron, its tech, the token, where things stood around October 10th, 2023.
Exactly. So it's a snapshot from that point in time. Our info comes strictly from that source.
Okay, so our mission, as always, is to cut through the jargon. We want to pull out the core info for you. What is Neutron based on this report? How does it work? What's its supposed value? And what's the deal with the NTRN token?
All based only on what's in this report we're looking at.
Perfect. Okay, let's unpack Neutron.
So fundamentally, the report defines Neutron as a cross-chain smart contract platform, but it's specifically built for the Cosmos ecosystem.
And it leans heavily on IBC, the Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol.
Yes, that's key. The whole point is enabling developers to build apps that, talk to each other across different blockchains using IBC.
But the report flags something really important early on, the security aspect.
Absolutely. It highlights this feature where DeFi apps built on Neutron can get the full economic security of a Cosmos hub itself.
How does that work?
It's through a mechanism the report calls replicated security, sometimes called interchain security.
So hang on. Instead of needing their own validators, their own security budget, apps on Neutron can sort of inherit the security from all the atoms staked on the hub.
That's the idea presented in the report, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty significant security boost, especially for new applications.
Wow, okay. And the report mentioned its status back then, October 2023.
Uh-huh. It noted Neutron was actually the first blockchain secured this way, using this interchain security.
A first mover then.
Okay.
So, stepping back, what's the big picture goal for Neutron, according to this source?
The report states its goal pretty clearly to be the best platform for developers who want to build cross-chain DeFi apps that are secure and can scale easily. It's really targeting that DeFi niche.
Got it. A secure cross-chain DeFi hub powered by Cosmos Hub Security. Makes sense. Now, what about the NTRN token? How does that fit in?
Right, the native token. The report lists a few main uses. First, the basics network fees. You pay transaction fees, gas fees using NTRN.
Standard stuff. But there's more, right? Governance is mentioned.
Yes, a big one. NTRN holders get to control things like network parameters, upgrades, and importantly, they control the treasury. Decentralized control is emphasized.
Okay, and since it's all about DeFi, does the token play a role inside those DeFi apps too?
It does. The report says NTRN can be used within the Neutron DeFi world for things like providing liquidity, maybe used as collateral, and also as a reward token in dApps.
Okay, so fees, governance, and DeFi utility. Covers the bases. Let's get into the weeds a bit. How does Neutron actually work? The report talks about components.
Yeah, it's built with several parts working together. We touched on replicated security, that's the foundation, using atoms staked on the hub to secure Neutron via IBC.
And the platform itself, it's built using the Cosmos SDK, like many chains in that ecosystem.
Correct. It uses the standard Cosmos SDK framework, but adds its own custom modules on top. These are specifically for enabling those cross-chain applications.
Okay, and the report highlights a couple of these custom modules as being really crucial.
Yes, two in particular for the cross-chain magic. First, there's the Interchain Queries module.
Interchain Queries. What does that let contracts do?
It basically lets a smart contract on Neutron ask for information, query data, from another blockchain connected via IBC. And it does this permissionlessly.
So a Neutron contract could, check an account balance or a token price on Osmosis or Stargaze directly without needing an Oracle middleman.
That's the picture the report paints. It pulls data trustlessly over IBC. Now, the second module is maybe even more interesting, the Interchain Transaction module.
Okay, transactions. What's this one about?
This is what enables something called interchain accounts, or ICAs. The report actually calls this the Interchain Secret DeFi Sauce.
Secret sauce. Why? What do interchain accounts let you do?
Okay, so this module allows a smart contract on Neutron to actually register and, get this, control an account on another blockchain.
Wait, control and count on another chain from a smart contract?
Yeah, so the Neutron contract can execute transactions on that other chain using its remote account. It can track the status of those transactions and even get results back, callbacks.
Whoa. So a DeFi strategy coded on Neutron could directly say swap tokens on a DX on another chain or deposit into a lending protocol over there.
Exactly. That seems to be the core capability.
Why is that the secret sauce, though? What's the big advantage?
Well, think about it. Normally, doing cross-chain stuff involves bridges, wrapped assets, lots of steps. This ICA mechanism, as described, lets a contract on Neutron directly manage activity on another chain, trustlessly. It removes a ton of complexity and potential points of failure.
Ah, I see. It streamlines building complex, truly cross-chain DeFi operations. Much smoother for developers.
That seems to be the value proposition highlighted, yeah. It opens up design possibilities that are harder otherwise.
Okay, that makes sense. Are there other modules the report mentions?
It lists a few others quickly. A CRON module for scheduling tasks, like running something every 100 blocks. A token factory for letting contracts mint their own native tokens on Neutron.
Uh-huh.
There are also IBC hooks, which let incoming token transfers trigger smart contract actions, and packet forwarding to help route IBC transactions across multiple hops, sort of utility modules.
Sounds like a decent toolkit. And all this sits on top of some core tech, right?
Right. The report grounds it in three main technologies: IBC itself, the standard protocol connecting 50-plus Cosmos chains. Then CosmWasm,
That's the smart contract engine.
yeah, a high-performance virtual machine for smart contracts written in Rust. And finally, Tendermint, the consensus algorithm that many Cosmos chains use to agree on blocks.
The report seemed to make a point about CosmWasm and Rust being good for security, comparing it to, say, Solidity.
It did. The source suggests that CosmWasm's design, combined with Rust's features like memory safety, helps prevent some common bugs and exploits seen in other smart contract languages. So they frame it as a deliberate, security-conscious choice.
Okay, so pulling it all together, what's the overall value proposition? Why use Neutron, according to this report?
The source emphasizes a few things. Security is number one, coming from both replicated security via the hub and the CosmWasm Rust choice.
Makes sense. Then obviously, cross-chain interoperability, that seems to be the main event with the ICAs and interchain queries.
Definitely. Enabling that trustless control and data access across chains. And third, the report mentions reduced overhead for developers.
How so?
By using Rust, which is a popular language outside of crypto too, and providing standardized tools, they argue it's easier for devs to jump in and build secure cross-chain apps without a massive learning curve specific only to Neutron.
Okay, tech, value prop.
Yeah.
Let's talk money. The report had details on funding and tokenomics. What did it say about how the project got started financially?
It mentions Neutron closed a $10 million seed funding round.
Led by Binance Labs, CoinFund was co-lead. Did it say anything about the valuation or token price in that round?
Yes, it states that about 11% of the total NTRN supply was sold in that round at a price of 0.900 in USD per token.
Okay. And the token supply itself, as of October 2023?
The report gives a total and maximum supply of 1 billion NTRN, fixed supply.
And how much was circulating initially when it listed?
The initial circulating supply was pegged at roughly 217.1 million NTRN, so about 21.7% of the total.
Got it. The report also mentioned a Binance launch pool allocation?
20 million NTRN, which is 2% of the total supply, was allocated to the launch pool. The report notes it started on October 11th, 2023.
Okay, can you break down the full distribution? Where did that 1 billion NTRN go, according to the source?
Sure. It lists Binance launch pool 2%, investors 11%, liquidity bootstrap 5%, airdrop 7%, team 23%, advisors 1%, then the two big chunks, treasury 27% and reserve 24%.
23% for the team seems standard, 27% for the treasury, and 24% for a reserve. Those are large portions. Did the report clarify how those work, especially the difference?
It did add a clarification. The 27% treasury is described as liquid, meaning usable right away, and importantly, it's controlled by NTRN token holders through governance.
So the community decides how to spend that treasury.
Exactly. And it even notes that governance had already voted to move 10% of the total supply out of that treasury into a separate foundation structure.
Interesting. Okay, what about the 24% reserve then? That's separate from the governance-controlled treasury.
Yes, and this is where it gets really unique based on the report. The unlocking or vesting of that 24% reserve is tied directly to on-chain activity on Neutron.
Tied to activity? How?
The report explicitly says, more activity, like transactions and usage on the network, makes the reserve tokens unlock faster. Less activity means they unlock slower.
Wow, okay, that's different. Tying a huge chunk of the supply release directly to network usage metrics. That's a built-in incentive structure right there.
Definitely an interesting mechanism described in the source.
All right, moving from tokens to timelines, what did the report cover regarding Neutron's roadmap and progress leading up to that October 2023 snapshot? Any key milestones hit?
It highlighted quite a few, some early foundational stuff like governance proposals on the Cosmos Hub itself, Crop 72 back in Q2 2022, which was about the idea of using interchain security for liquid staking, and DeFi sort of paving the way.
And then the big one for Neutron itself.
Right, Prop 792 in Q2 2023. That was the successful vote to actually launch Neutron using replicated security, a critical step.
Any mention of audits. Security is key here.
Yep, successful audits were listed, one by Oak Security late 2022, another by Informal Systems mid-2023. It seems like standard pre-launch diligence.
And testnets.
Several were noted. Quark, the replicated security testnet, Baryon, all leading up to the mainnet launch.
When did mainnet go live, according to the report?
Mainnet launch was listed as Q2 2023.
Okay, so that's the core tech development. What about building the ecosystem? Partnerships, business development?
The report mentioned a few things there. Some Lido contributors published a plan for potentially bringing Lido's liquid staking to Cosmos, specifically using Neutron as the platform.
Lido is big, so that's notable. Anything else?
Yes, the AEZ Accelerator, a partnership with LongHashX and the Atom Accelerator DAO, described as a program to help early-stage projects building on Neutron and related chains.
So actively trying to bootstrap the ecosystem.
Seems like it. And Delphi Labs, another prominent name, ran a hackathon focused on Neutron, offering prizes and potential further support for teams building on the platform.
And community. Standard channels mentioned?
Yeah, just briefly notes presence on Twitter, Discord, Telegram. Usual suspects.
Okay, so wrapping this up, based purely on this October 2023 report.
It paints Neutron as this specialized platform within Cosmos, aiming to make it easier and safer for developers to build DeFi apps that work across multiple chains, using the security of the Cosmos Hub and the power of IBC and Interchain accounts.
And the NTRN token is central to all that, paying fees, giving holders control via governance, and being used within the DeFi apps themselves.
Exactly. So after breaking down this source, you should have a much clearer sense of Neutron's reported architecture, its tokenomics, and its trajectory as of late 2023.
Now, just to leave you with something to think about, pulling only from this report, consider that 24% reserve token allocation, the one that unlocks based on on-chain activity.
Yeah, that vesting mechanism.
How might tying such a large slice of the token supply directly to network usage metrics influence things? Like, what kind of activity does it incentivize? Does it shape how developers build or how users interact? What are the potential upsides or maybe even downsides of that model, just based on how the report describes it? It's certainly a fascinating economic design choice to ponder.